Hi everyone, you're watching Tamit Saleh's Tennis Forum, and I thought I'd do a quick recap and get you guys up to date on what's been happening in the Paris Masters 1000. The top 8 has now been confirmed. Alexander Zverev and Matteo Berrettini will be the final two players who have qualified for London, as Monfils has just lost in straight sets to Denis Shapovalov. Novak Djokovic, an amazing performance today, so we're going to touch on his match against Stefanos Tsitsipas and of course foreshadow a Djokovic Nadal final. We've not had many of those this year. We've only had 2 matches between the two. If you haven't already, then please do subscribe, as I do release weekly videos as well as additional videos. If you want to check out my last video where I spoke about who will qualify for London, I'll be putting a link up here somewhere and also in the description below. But in this video, I just want to give you guys a quick catch up, look at the poll, and I might answer a question at the end as well. So without further ado, let's roll the intro. So of course the big talking point is that Matteo Berrettini about 20 minutes ago has just confirmed his spot in London for the first ever time. Gael Monfils had an amazing opportunity in Paris. The draw kind of opened up for him with some big names going out as well as Roger Federer withdrawing. So much so that after my initial poll, where only 5% of you guys gave Monfils any chance, when I put a poll from Berrettini to Monfils comparing the two, you guys actually voted for Monfils. I think, it's quite disappointing. Personally, I'm happy for Matteo Berrettini, his first chance. However, just by going by age and all that, this probably was Gael Monfils' final chance to compete in London. Matteo Berrettini is a very young player. He's got many more opportunities. And just from watching the two play, I personally, my preference is Gael Monfils. I enjoy the way he plays on court, his demeanour. He has an amazing personality. He seems to have a lot of fun on court, and it's always quite entertaining watching his matches. But unfortunately, it was not meant to be for Gael Monfils. Shapovalov, now he absolutely blew Monfils away. I was just like, it was an incredible display from the young Canadian. And to be honest, his year was kind of, petering out with nothing really until he won Stockholm about a couple of weeks ago, and it seems to have rejuvenated him. He had a bit of a poor performance in Vienna straight after, but coming into Paris he has been playing brilliantly. He's beaten Fabio Fognini, Alexander Zverev and now Gael Monfils, 3 players who are in and around that top 8 spot. Very convincing 6-2, 6-2 victory against Monfils today. He did beat Fognini and Sasha in 3-set matches, and he has booked himself into the semi-final of Paris. Earlier on in the day, we had a sublime performance from Novak Djokovic. He was up against Stefanos Tsitsipas, which was of course a rematch from 3 weeks ago in Shanghai where Stefanos beat Djokovic. But boy, did Novak look good today. Through this tournament, I've heard his interviews. He sounded a bit croaky. He's not feeling very well. But I mean, if he's not feeling very well and playing like this, then the other players have a lot to worry about. He beat Stefanos 6-1, 6-2 in under an hour. The match lasted only 58 minutes. In fact, in the first set, he had it was love 40 for him to bagel Stefanos. Stefanos came out of that with some great serves. But it was just an outstanding display from Novak. Watching that match, I think the forehand especially from Novak was amazing. The cross-court forehand and also the one down the line, it was just, it was a joyous performance. His serving was very well as well. And one stat that I saw that was quite interesting was that second serve points won 77%. So like I've said, Novak looks ominous. Looking at the match when he won the first set, I didn't really think too much of it, as in Shanghai, Novak won the first set as well, until Stefanos came back in the second. But when he broke Stefanos, I think for 2-1 in that second set, that was a very big roar or emotion that Novak let out, and I think that it was a mental barrier for him. I'm sure Shanghai played on his mind, and he knew that even though he was a setup playing great tennis in Masters tournaments, best of 3, it can all change very quickly. So getting that break early in the second, I felt calmed him down a little bit. He will play an in-form Grigor Dimitrov. Now Dimitrov, he's been a star of the past. Really, he's He's won the World Tour finals. He's reached Wimbledon semi-finals. That match against Novak Djokovic, an amazing match. He's won Masters 1000 before, but his career was like, you just felt that he was not achieving what everyone expected. He had a lot of potential, and I feel like by him basing his gaming style on Roger Federer as well, it kind of brought unnecessary comparisons between the two. But he's having a very strong second half of the season. He reached the US Open semi-final, where he did beat Roger Federer en route to that. And now he's reached another Masters 1000 semi-final. That matchup against Djokovic. Now look, we all know that Novak will probably be the big favourite here. But you can never rule Dimitrov out. He's been playing some wonderful stuff. He beat Dominic Thiem. And then he just beat Garin right now. I think it was Garin's first quarterfinal appearance at such a high level. But fair dues to Dimitrov, playing some great stuff. I would still say Novak Djokovic will get the better of him if I had to pick between the two. If you look at their head-to-head, Djokovic has a 8-1 head-to-head, with Dimitrov's only victory coming over 6 years ago on the clay. So 8-1. And this is where, for me, it comes down to the fact why Djokovic doesn't seem to dominate the next-gen players as much as he does with players like Dimitrov, Nishikori, etc. It's just that mental baggage that these guys have of just so many defeats against the big three that before they've even stepped on the court, they're probably, they're getting flashbacks of all those defeats. So with an 8-1 head-to-head, it is very difficult to look past Novak, especially the form he showed against Tsitsipas. But that will be a very interesting match. And potentially the Rafa-Novak final we're all dreaming of is still up for grabs. As you all know, Rafa has Jo-Wilfried Tsonga in the quarterfinal and then will play Shapovalov in the semi-finals. The match against Tsonga, it's currently going on serve as I speak to you on the first set. Now look, Tsonga on his day can beat Rafa. He does actually have 4 victories against Rafa to his name. But you would expect Rafa to come through. However, Tsonga, home crowd, he seems to have rejuvenated himself. But simply for the sake of this video, let's assume Rafa will come through that one. He plays against Shapovalov in the semi-finals, and their head-to-head is actually 1-1. The only time they played on hard courts was a couple of years ago, where Shapovalov actually got the win against Rafa at the first time of asking. Like I've said just now with the whole Dimitrov-Djokovic head-to-head, Shapovalov does not carry that mental baggage of a million defeats against Rafa, so that may come in his favor. He's playing some great stuff, and it will be quite a difficult match for Rafa. Let's assume that we do have our dream final of a Novak Djokovic Rafa Nadal final. I'll quickly fill you in with the head-to-heads, as tomorrow I don't think I'll get a chance to make a final preview video, so I'll just do it now. If it's Novak and Rafa, Novak leads the head-to-head 28-26. Rafa Nadal actually hasn't beaten Novak Djokovic outside the clay since 2013. And the last time Nadal beat Novak on indoor hard courts was in 2010 in the World Tour finals. So it's about time Rafa gets a win against Novak on the hard courts. If I had to predict that match, I would still favor Novak Djokovic. That was my pick at the beginning of the tournament. I just feel like on the indoor hard courts he's a different animal, especially with what's at stake, the #1 ranking. If Rafa Nadal wins the Paris Open, or if Novak Djokovic does not reach the final and Rafa reaches the final, then Rafa Nadal is confirmed year-end #1. If Novak Djokovic wins Paris and let's say Nadal comes runner-up, then the gap is reduced to about 900 points. Still, massive favourite will be Rafa, of course, but it will go down to London. Ideally for Novak Djokovic, it's almost a must now for him to win Paris, and he would want Rafa to probably get knocked out by Jo-Wilfried Tsonga or Shapovalov. Looking at the Paris Masters 1000 in general, I feel like it's been a very enjoyable tournament to watch. We've had some brilliant performances, some great performances from the French players. We've had major shocks, to say the least. We started off with a big shock in Medvedev going out against Shardy. We had Dominic Thiem going out against Dimitrov, Sasha Zverev going out against Shapovalov. So where all the next-gen hype was coming from the Asian swing, it seems to have faltered a little in this tournament. We'll see in the World Tour finals, where it's a mix between the big three, the next gen, or Dimitrov, Berrettini actually counts as next gen as well. So yeah, we'll see how they fare in the London World Tour Finals. A couple of them will be making their debuts there. I'm going to quickly end this video by answering a question asked by Dan P on my previous video. He asked me if I think that if Novak Djokovic loses the world #1 ranking, do I think he can gain it back with the rise of the big three, players like Andy Murray he mentions coming back? So, you know, is it just going to get tougher for Novak? Personally, even if Novak Djokovic loses the world #1 ranking, I am 90% sure that he will get that #1 ranking back, simply because, you know, we write these players off too soon, and it seems to be in tennis there's a bandwagon mentality as well, where if a player's having a dip in form, we say that's it, he's never going to win anything ever again, and then likewise when he wins something, oh, he's going to win the next 20 slams in a row. So yeah, that's why in my opinion Novak Djokovic will win more slams and he will regain that world #1 ranking. I feel like he has a great chance if he can defend Australia or at least reach the final there. Then looking in tournaments like Indian Wells, Miami, then the clay court season with Monte Carlo, Madrid, Rome, he does have a lot of points to potentially gain. So that could be where he could then regain that #1. I'm just going to end it there. I won't be able to make a video tomorrow, but you will get a reaction video to the final of the Paris Masters. So that will be out probably Sunday evening. So do keep an eye out for that. Please do leave a comment below on who you think will make it, who you think will win Paris. If you've agreed or disagreed with anything I've said, I do respond to most, if not all, of your comments, and I do love hearing what you guys have to say. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. And thank you very much for watching.